Good morning, good evening, wherever you are listening from. I just want to thank you for joining us here on the second hour of A Second Chance 12-hour fundraiser, helping A Second Chance bring awareness and advocating for the transplant community and other life threatening illnesses. This event, which runs until 8 p.m. Pacific time, is bringing awareness of the programs that A Second Chance has had the honor of working with in the past, that is also doing great work in the community. If you would like to donate, you can do so by going to www.asecondchance.net/donate. Or if you're old fashioned and don't want to do it that way, you can definitely write a check to Philip Jones Jr. and mail it to 11009 Atkinson Avenue, Inglewood, California 90303. Funding is critical as they do not charge for their assistance. So please join us in this hour with Brian and Kim. Welcome to the show, guys.
Dorothy, hi, how are you?
I am great. It's nice to meet your lovely wife. I
This is
didn't get a
Kim. Yeah,
chance
yeah,
to
yeah.
talk to her before. So welcome and thank you so much for being here. So actually, I like it better this way. That way I can see your wife too.
There you go.
So Brian, tell us a little bit about your journey here. What brings you to A Second Chance?
Yeah, you know what? I'm a liver transplant recipient. That's how I met Philip Jones, a kidney recipient also. But yeah, shoot, I got to do my math here. It's probably been about 30 years.
Wow.
When I was first diagnosed, I was a brand new fireman for the Los Angeles County Fire Department, and everything was going well. And I became really sick. I mean, almost instantaneously sick, jaundice, yellow, fatigued, and had no clue what was going on. Went through a battery of tests, and this was over about a year's period. And boy, they were having a hard time figuring out. And finally, someone says, you have a autoimmune hepatitis. And I was devastated. I wasn't married to Kim yet. I was single. And I thought, wow, I just got the job of my life. I was a fireman getting ready to go to paramedic school. And they says, you have autoimmune hepatitis. And at first, for about 6 months, they thought it was actually leukemia. And I thought, wow, this journey ended quick. Some more tests, autoimmune hepatitis, a battery of medicine. And this is going over years and years. And they finally says, the only cure for this is a liver transplant. And I was devastated. At that time, in the early 90s, transplantation still, there was no internet. There wasn't a way to look and see what all this is about, what your recovery rate is about. And I was scared to death. Like I say, I was single. I had my parents. I had some friends, but I really didn't know where to turn. I put all my trust in the doctors. And I actually floated around from doctor to doctor because I didn't like the answer they were giving me. So I thought, well, if I go to another doctor, maybe they'll say, hey, take a pill and you'll be fine tomorrow. And I was in and out of transplant centers in Southern California, 3 of them. And at this time, Kim and I had gotten together. We had gotten married. We had our daughter, Megan, and things were going better. I had somebody in my life. I had a daughter. I had more purpose than just work. Right. And things got so bad for me illness wise. They actually took me off the job and I was devastated. I had our little girl, Megan. She was 1 year old. And I remember sitting at the kitchen table having dinner. And I got the phone call that, you're too ill to work. And I knew it. I had worked through a lot of pain and suffering, and hid a lot of my illness because I was afraid to lose my job. And I thought that was the end of the road. And luckily, we had bought some job insurance, so we had finances to take care of. But now it was my health. And I told Kim, I says, while I was devastated that I had been taken off the job temporarily, pending my outcome, I had bought some job insurance. So financially, we're okay. And I told her I'm relieved. Actually relieved because now I can concentrate just on being sick and how do I get well. Kim had made some phone calls. We had some connections and we got hooked up with UCLA. And when we got hooked up with UCLA, the ball started rolling really well. We met great doctors, ended up being my transplant team. And they laid it out. Hey, here's how it is. Here's your options. And your recovery varies from person to person. There's no no in the box, hey, here's how everybody's going to be after transplant. And I had one thing going for me. I was in great physical shape. I was actually mentally in a good place at that time. And they says, the chance for recovery is pretty good because you're in great shape. You've taken care of yourself coming up to this. Now, Dorothy, at this time, I had also lost probably about 70 pounds. So I was nowhere near what I once was. And many other procedures that were happening with my liver failure. And one of them that was the most scary is called ascites. And I would gain 38 pounds of fluid every week in my belly because my liver turned into a rock and it couldn't filter. And that's one of the reasons I was losing so much weight. So once a week, every Thursday at 10 a.m., Kim and I would go down to the hospital and they would take out 38 pounds of fluid out of my belly. And it would accumulate the next week, no matter what I ate or drank or whatever. It was just my body deteriorating, rendering away, if you would. Mm-hmm. And so that was one of the most obvious side effects, that this big belly would come. It would push up on my diaphragm. I couldn't breathe the last 2 days before they'd do this procedure called a paracentesis and drain the fluid away. So that was our journey going up to the transplant. I was off work for 2.5 years before my transplant, just doing these kind of procedures where when I was working and this happened, I had 3 different pant sizes of uniforms because I'm still kind of in denial and I can do this and I've got a family I need to take care of. So I just ordered 3 different sizes of pants. As my belly got bigger, I just wear those pants and try to hide my illness. And that probably wasn't the smartest thing. But again, when you're scared and unsure what to do and looking for answers, you do what you have to do. And being married and with a daughter, and we'd also taken, Kim has 2 boys, and they were all living with me, and they were dependent on me to go to work and bring home and provide. So there was a lot on my plate. My decision-making wasn't the best, but along the way, and Kim used to call them the angels for the day. When I'd be in clinic or at the hospital, I'd meet people and I'd say, wow, I'd come home sometimes when I was there by myself and say, I met this random person and they really gave me this inspiration about their journey or what they've been through. And she goes, Brian, there's nothing random. There's nothing random. God put them in your place. And it took me a while to understand that. There's just a lot going on in my little brain. And I started realizing I would come home and go, Kim, after a while of finally realizing, yeah, God has a way. I met an angel today and they gave me this inspiration and they looked healthy and their life is back to normal. And, doggone it, after my transplant, I'm going to be normal again. I'm going to be a dad, a husband, a fireman. I'm going to do it because I saw this person, and they were no longer random. They were the angel for the day. And so that's how we kind of worked our way up to transplant.
That's what was it like for you, Kim, meeting this amazing guy here and then knowing, I'm sure he must have been straightforward before you guys got married that, hey, he was going through this. But what was it like for you?
No.
Oh, you weren't straight up?
No.
Oh, my friend.
Ma'am. I need my own show for this. No, I've actually known Brian since high school. So we went to high school together. So I knew what he was like beforehand. So we just started dating. I got a divorce. He was going through his own thing. And we decided to date. So I didn't know any of this. I knew he was sick. Before my divorce, I knew there was an issue. There was a health issue involved with him. We thought at that time, I believe it was leukemia that I think you were diagnosed with. Yeah. And we thought it was that. So then I get divorced. We start dating about a year later. And he never mentioned it. And he looked okay. He never said anything. And then I noticed, you know how I was introduced to this? I moved in. I lost everything. I was going to live in my car with my boys. I totally lost everything. I move in with him and he tells me he's in bed. He goes, I've got this enormous headache. And I said, do you want me to get you a Tylenol or Advil or something? He goes, what, are you new? He goes, I can't take anything like that. And I go, wait, hang on. I am new. And why can't you take that? So, I had to get I mean, past so many levels of denial with this. He came out. We had this enormous earthquake that happened in Santa Clarita. He came out crawling. I'm sitting on the floor with these dogs around me. I don't even know the dogs. And he's crawling out to me and he's going, Kim, I need you to go get vitamin K and cabbage, 4 heads of cabbage. And I go, why? And he goes, no, hurry. So I ran to go get all that. I come back. I've got my vitamin K and I'm going to get the cabbage. And the checker at the grocery store, he goes, oh, Kim, are you making coleslaw? And I said, I don't think so. And he goes, well, are you trying to stop a bleed? I said, I don't know, but I'll go find out. I'm holding the heads of cabbage. I go, are you bleeding somewhere? He goes, no. He goes, but I need to juice that and drink that. I go, where's the blood coming from? And he goes, okay, I might be bleeding. I said, Brian, that was my introduction to this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But you still stuck with them. So
because you know what? The reason is,
and she's stuck now.
No, the reason is I knew him before.
Right.
So the illness was doing all of this. But
Right.
let me in. I don't know what I'm dealing with. You need to be upfront with me. I told the doctor, tell me what's on my plate. I can deal with it if it's on my plate. If not, I don't know how.
Oh my gosh, you just nailed it on the head, because as a wife, that is the biggest thing. If you guys don't speak to us, all our heads are like, oh my God, he's dying. Oh my God, there's nothing. What can we do? There's nothing I can do. Oh, and our minds go like 10,000 miles per minute. So, and to be like Kim said, just let us know if we know what we're dealing with. We're fine. But
Yes.
the unknown is what freaks us out.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, Dorothy, through our journeys, one of the things we do is work with other families going through this. And one of the things I really strive is, hey, keeping it inside is not a good thing. And you have to share. If I haven't learned anything, that is what I've learned so far. And I will tell you, and I'll give a shout out to a really dear friend of mine, Chris Arvisi. We came on the job together, and he came up to me. And he was the only one I trusted and all, because I was at the risk of losing my job. All kinds of things were going on. So I was keeping it. I didn't want anybody to know. But Chris would take me to the hospital when I was bleeding. Varices would burst and I'd have large blood losses. And he goes, hey, Brian, if you and Kim are serious, and Chris really loves Kim, he says, you got to let her know what's going on. I know I'm your friend and I can drive you around, but you got to trust her now. And he was the one that really made me open up and say, if she's going to be living here and we got something going on, she should probably be in the loop.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, but you're so true. And again, and I've talked to more men than women about this subject, and it's almost 100%. The men go into denial and the women are not. And I don't know how but that's just what we've noticed, that the men want to hide it, just keep powering forward. And when you're in this situation, you just can't. You have to establish a level of trust somewhere, and the first thing would be with your girlfriend or spouse, and let them know.
Absolutely. Oh wow. Okay, so now that you know what you're dealing with, Kim, how was it for you after that thing, and especially up to leading to transplant? And things like that. What was going through your mind at that time?
Actually, my faith in God is what got me through this, because my faith is so strong. And when we first started living together, I thought, okay, maybe it wouldn't have worked out when we were in high school. Maybe there's a reason that I'm here in his life right now. And, so I relied a lot on that. And it really, to me, I'm going to give you an example. He would lay on the couch and he'd say, just say something, just say anything. And this is what I actually did. I would lean over, listen, and out of my mouth would come words I never even thought to have said. And Brian did this. Oh, thank you. I needed to hear that. And I thought, oh my Lord. So I relied a lot on that. We did have Megan. She was a baby. And I used to tell him, you are going to have to trust the doctors. You are going to have to, the angel he talked about. Yes. But anyway, how can I say that I just knew I was in this for, I was here to help him. I don't know how else to say that. I was placed here. There was a lot of things. There was too many things that happened that I knew everything about him. I knew when he was getting sick at the hospital. I mean, at the house, I felt like I was doing intensive care nursing. I realized like when you became septic a couple times, I had a secret line at Kaiser that I would call. I would run downstairs in the garage. I would call and I'd say, Kim, Debbie, it's Kim. And I'd hang up. I'd run back up the stairs and Dr. Donovan would call and he'd go, hey, Kim, let me talk to Brian for a minute. And Brian would get on the phone and Brian would go, oh, okay. And he goes, I have to go to the hospital. He goes, my labs didn't look good. And I go, oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, behind the scenes, I would recognize that he was septic and more sick than anything. So I think I just relied on just listening around me, understanding that I was placed here for a reason, be more aware of him. But I had my faith. And I thought, you know what, I went to a Bible study one time, women's Bible study. And I left right after because they said to me this, do you pray for a liver every day? I said, pray for a liver? I said, no. And there was a group of about 30. I had the attention of the room. I said, I pray for strength to get through the next minute with him. You guys have no idea what it's like living with him. I prayed for strength to get through every minute. I was told when he starts talking about the glass that's sitting on the table that's bothering him, it isn't about the thing. His life is out of control. He cannot control this anymore. So I used to walk away. I was told walk away. So I would go up the stairs. I'd go in the bedroom, shut the door. I would go in the bathroom, shut the door. And he was right behind me every step. Kim. I used to sit in the closet and pray. And he was banging on the closet door and I'd go, I was told to walk away. Just go away. So I relied on my faith is what I did. So
I love
that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah. And
I think that's the only thing we can do in those moments.
I had the only thing I could do.
It truly is, Dorothy. And one of the things we stress, when you think you're alone, it doesn't work. You need that faith. And it took me a while to get the faith. And once I did, that's when things got really easy because I'd put it all in God's hands. Mm-hmm. And I knew whatever the will was, whether I liked it or not, it wasn't up to me. And things got really easy, the fighting like that or that kind of outrage. And there was another thing that we didn't realize. I was on heavy doses of steroids, not really paying attention. Boy, that really plays with your head a lot, makes you a little more aggressive and I'm kind of aggressive A personality anyhow. And when you add that fuel to the fire, it doesn't work out so well. But once we realized it, we're like, okay, let's work with this. But boy, all that stuff coming, your body's changing, transitioning day to day. Yeah. And, there are a lot of heartfelt talks that, the faith, the drugs, how do we deal with it? How to be the kind of person you're supposed to be, not that the drugs and the anxiety is making you to be. It's a journey. It's a wild journey. Yeah.
I can just imagine, I don't want to imagine, but I can just imagine what it would be.
Imagine you have a film crew in your home. So we had a film crew in our home filming our weight. So I said to them, I don't know what you guys are looking for, but he lays on the couch I don't know what you're looking for. So we were always on mic. And they used to leave. I think they were there daily, almost daily for a couple of years. They would walk out our door and this is what one of the producers or whatever would say to me. We want to take you with us. I go, I want to go with you. I said, that's what I want to do because they used to hear him. You were so nasty. Mm-hmm. So they heard a lot of stuff and,
Wow. But I think what people have to realize, I know especially with both my parents have had heart conditions. And so I never realized the first thing they taught us especially after my mom's bypass was cancer or not cancer patient. Heart patients are very cranky and it's like they don't even realize what they're doing or what they're saying. So I can imagine it's probably the same thing for like what you were going through, like what you're experiencing. For people that have been that are on medications, we don't know what the side effects truly are. And it's different for everybody. The doctor can say, oh, your side effects are range or whatever, or cotton mouth or whatever, but it could be different for everybody else. And everybody is different. So we have to keep that in mind as a caregiver, thinking, um, Brian's going off the rails today, but why is Brian going off the rails, right? And not just Brian. I mean, anybody that's going with this.
Yeah. One of the things we started up doing at our facility before we left Southern California was a caregivers class. And boy, it was well attended, right? Because the caregivers, just what you said, Dorothy, these people don't know, there's really no matrix for them that's for the patient. And we started realizing that, hey, the caregiver is a patient also, and they need a group unto themselves to help figure this thing out, and somebody to call in those bad hours that, hey, have you seen this? How did you handle this? But yeah, that's a great point, Dorothy. The caregivers, yeah, here's the side effects. You might see this. Well, until you live it and breathe it and smell it, you don't realize, holy cow, this thing's for real. Yeah. It's a big deal.
Right. So 2 years, and then you got your transplant. And then, so what's life been after the transplant?
Oh my God. So yeah, so up to the transplant. So the whole journey, and for most recipients, it goes the same way. I mean, you're in the hospital, you're at home, they call you, you get there, it's no good. It doesn't work for you. Like one time they called and the liver had hepatitis C, and if they gave it to me, I would then contract hepatitis C. So they benched it. Another one, and this one is still, I wish I knew what the outcome of this was, but they called and they says only part of the liver was any good. So they split it and they gave it to a young child. And I was, you know what, I wonder how that child's doing, because I wasn't devastated at all. I was happy that this young child I could only imagine their parents, us having a young child, must be elated today. So we get 3 calls and 3 no goods. And one time, as far as even getting prepped and ready to go, and at the last minute, they says, you know what? And at that moment, I got a little despondent, because I'm only weighing 110 pounds now, and I really can't get out of bed. And I'm thinking, wow, this may not work. This may be the end. And the following day they came in, and my doctor came in, Ron Busatel, and my surgeon. And he says, I actually saw it. I've touched it. And when he said these words, that's the liver I'm going to put in you. You're going to live. When he said, you're going to live. Now, I haven't been able to get out of bed. I remember jumping up and grabbing him like I'd already had the transplant. This energy, this adrenaline had overcome my body like I've never heard that before. I'm going to live. Let's go make this thing happen. And when Kim talks about the film crew, they made a documentary about us, No Greater Love. They followed us in the OR. And one of them afterwards said, hey, you were pretty funny in there. You're all fired up like, hey, don't put me out. I want to watch this whole thing. I want to be part of it. If there's any questions, I can answer them. I'm a paramedic, for God's sakes. I know everything. And they said it was pretty comical, but I had this energy because I knew I was going to live. And one of the things before transplant, I kept asking them, badgering them, hey, will I ever get to go back to work? And they says, you know what? It's a liver transplant. Still kind of new in the country, and outcomes vary. Don't set your hopes on it. And I'm like, I really want to go back to work. And I love my job. And right after the transplant, I asked them, hey, it was all successful. And I'm still innovating, got all the tubes and everything in my head. What are we thinking about this work thing, Right? Wow, you're just out of surgery. So, I go through recovery, stay for a week at UCLA, and I'm already feeling 10 times better. I mean, immediately my eyes cleared up. There was no more jaundice. My energy level for what I had been was quite good. I mean, I could actually walk down the hallway at the hospital. And so we go home, and a month or 2 later, I'm starting to gain weight and really feel good. And I go back to the doctor and I says, hey, Dr. Donovan, this work thing, where are we looking at on this? And he goes, well, let's think about a year. And as honest as I'm sitting here, I came back and I told Kim, she says, well, Dr. Donovan say, and he says, well, probably about 6 months, 6 months after your transplant. Well, and I had set a goal for myself that, you know what, I think I'm recovering okay. And the honest truth is 6 months and 1 day, my recovery was so remarkable that in the United States, I became the first firefighter paramedic to go back to active duty after having a liver transplant, and 6 months and 1 day. And from that moment on, the recovery has been it's been straight up. I was a whole different person when I went back to work. I had this energy, I had this zest that I'd had before, but now I was carrying someone else in me, and I'm a steward of this liver. It came from a young female, from a young lady, and every day the first thing I do is thank God for this young lady. And I wish I would have got to know her. And I thank God for her and her family consenting to donation. I wish she had never died, and I would be good with that. But I thank God every day for her and thinking about it, having the conversation with the family, with her husband, that if something ever happens to us, donation is in our life. And I can never forget that. I'm coming up on 23 years, and it still is paramount in my mind that when she left, she had done something so selfless and talked about it. And that's all you have to do is talk about it and then register. And she made a difference in my life. And that's what a donor does all around the country, all around the world. When they consent, you may never get to know where that went, but it went to me. And I carried that with me back to work. When I went back, I was 40 years old. I had more energy, more life. I was enthusiastic about, oh man, we're going out again. It's 3 a.m. Yeah, we're going out again. We get to go out again, because a year ago, it didn't look like I was going anywhere, right? So even up till I retired, they're like, man, you're a different guy than everybody else. You had this energy, and you always wanted to move forward and take the hardest jobs and do the hard things. Well, it's because I could. We take our health for granted. And they're like, hey, maybe you should promote and get out of the field work of being a firefighter and a paramedic. You're down doing the hardest work all day long. I know, I like it. I've been given this chance, and I retired as that. I turned down every promotion. I didn't want to go up. I wanted to stay where it was hard, because I had the opportunity to do the hardest thing. And I ended up working almost 17 years after my transplant. And
that's awesome.
The energy, and I still have it. I don't know if you can tell. I still have this energy.
I can tell. That's funny. Well, if you're just tuning in now, we are here for the second hour of A Second Chance, a 12-hour fundraiser, which goes till tonight to 8 p.m. Pacific time. And if you could donate, go to www.asecondchance.net/donate to donate. And we're here talking with Brian and his amazing wife, Kim. And we're talking about Brian's liver transplant. And I have to say, Brian, what's going through my mind right now is, okay, you have a job where you could potentially put yourself on the line every day. You did that before you got sick, ended up with the transplant. Now you're like this, I get the picture of like an Irish fighter, like you're just up there and you're just like going full of energy and nothing's going to stop you. Right. And I love all of that. And then to go back to a job that potentially you put your life in line every day. So, kudos for you for doing that. And that's great. That should give people hope that, it doesn't matter. Do what you love. And you clearly love being a firefighter. Sorry. And then retiring afterwards from doing something that you love, and look at the passion that you have now, and making the awareness for other people to say, hey, wait a minute, don't give up hope. And the way you talked about, okay, so now that you have female parts of you, is there sometimes that you act like a female?
I couldn't hear the question.
Now that you have a female liver, do you act like a female?
Oh, you know what? That's awesome. I love her. I love her to death. And I used to go back to work and tell people, how does it feel to come in second if we play racquetball or volleyball or whatever we're doing, running a lap, whatever, to an old guy with a chick liver? Me and her are kicking your butt. Her and we're a team. And I love it. I love her to death. And every day when I wake up and I know I have this female liver, this chick liver, I call it, and I mean that with 100% respect, that her and I have done some pretty remarkable things. And she might have given me that little bit of passion that it takes to not be a good paramedic, but a great paramedic, that I can sympathize with people. I can sit and hold your hands and not feel like, hey, I'm some big macho dude. No, I'm going to hold your hand. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make you comfortable. Because when I was sick, I loved it when somebody made me comfortable and the little bit of words. So to answer your question, I love having her with me. She's an awesome person, and I wish I knew more about her. But yeah, I'm totally good with having her. And
That's
I still go and I'll still outwork any 40-year-old out there. Her and I are a pretty good team.
I love that. And some guys, especially in that job, it's like macho, but to have the empathy that you have for other people, I don't really necessarily think that that's from the female liver that you have, or that's just going through what you've gone through. Maybe a combination of both. I guess that's something we'll never know. But and I just love that you said that.
Yeah, yeah.
Because women kick ass all the time. So
Oh, they do, and that might have made me more of a fighter. You know what? Because yeah, I mean, I was an aggressive person, a firefighter before my transplant, but afterwards, boy, there was something different, and it was unstoppable. And I think a large part of it was somebody had lost a husband had lost his wife, a son had lost his mom, and a mom and dad had lost their daughter. And I just feel like every day they're watching me, and I want to walk in the way that they were proud that they said yes to donation. And every day I act like they're watching. And if they took a microcosm of my life right there, a snapshot, that they would see somebody that taking care of that gift with 100% of passion and ability, the best of their ability.
So Kimberly, now that he's had the transplant, is the mood swings less and less?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, he did go through 2 bouts of rejection. So in that case, they up his the prednisone, the steroid, and now that years ago when we were told, he's rejecting, so we're going to have to up that, you're more prepared for and it's funny because he would be okay. And then the up that medicine, and he could say it was like he was on fire. And I had to call him on a couple times. I can't live with this now that we know it's the issue, but you've got to try to be more control of this. The transplant's done. We're good, but you've got to be able to control that because, and I did. So I did call him on that. So we're just more aware of, just
Yep.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And because I was healthy, when it's acting up, I could take the dogs out for a 10-mile run and just run it out of me, just beat it out of me.
Yeah.
So when I was sick, I couldn't do that. But when you feel this, like she said, on fire, and I feel like my skin's on fire. Take the dogs out. We got 3 dogs. We lived up in the mountains, and go out for 10 miles and run the wheels off them and yourself and knock the juice out of you. So you come home a decent person. Yeah. Lose some of that energy.
I love every bit of that. And, I'm trying to think of how to diplomatically say this, from not knowing and getting yourself into that to going through those moments like, oh my God, what did I sign myself up for? To now life after transplant, sticking with the guy, it was the main thing, right? So,
well,
kudos to you for that.
I thought of writing a book about this one day, but I'm not going to, because I don't want to hurt him in any way, because there was so much he doesn't remember. But I will never forget everything that happened. But the beginning of my book starts with, we got married. I was pregnant with Megan. That was he didn't want to live anymore. And I tricked him, so to speak, and got pregnant and said, well, I'm pregnant. What are you gonna do? So as I'm walking down the aisle and I'm pregnant with her, my thought was, wow, what is this journey going to be like? I have no idea what to expect, but I'm giving this all to you. I don't know. So that was the beginning of my book, how I started walking down the aisle, and my thought was that, got to help me through this because I don't know what I'm doing. And look, I'm here.
Yeah.
I was going to say it turned out well. So like, that is amazing. Great story. And kudos for you for sticking by that. And like you said, you knew it wasn't him. You knew it was the medication and what he was going through. And sometimes as spouses or caregivers, we gotta think of that. Like, we know what they're like outside of their illness. So thinking of those times, it's funny. You reminded me of something. So back when I first met my husband, we met online, and we lived an hour away from each other, and he used to text me every day, like morning to night. And the guy usually was in bed by 8:30, only I didn't know that. I didn't know that till after I moved in with him. We would speak till 10, 1 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning. And so I said to him, I'm keeping all these text messages because there's going to become a time in a relationship where I'm not really going to like you. And I'm going to need to remember these great, amazing text messages. And I kept the phone's in my drawer. And he's just like, well, that's a good idea. And, as long as we think of those moments through the dark times and the hard times, we can get through anything. And kudos for you for acknowledging that, this really isn't Brian. This is Brian's illness. And I think by you speaking that out, for anybody listening right now or who's going to listen to this on the replay, when you are in this situation, just remember who they are and whose they are, and to help you get through that.
And also too, on that same point, Brian was running scared.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't like you have the flu and you're going to get over it. This is, am I going to die from this? I don't know how much time I have left. He actually left the house a couple times thinking, I can't put you through this. I'm just running. So I can't even go there. I can't put myself in that position, but we have to remember how scared. He didn't want to say I'm scared. He would never say that, but you could see it in his eyes that, wow, I'm actually facing death here. And I don't know what that's like. So,
Dorothy, Kim brings up an interesting point. There's something that I don't talk about too much, but you're wondering, am I rooting for somebody to die? And it took a while, and I had a lot of talks with my doctor about this. And being a paramedic, I'm out there to save your life, not hope that you die. And I never hoped that somebody would die. I would hope that somebody would recognize the importance of organ and tissue donation and register. And in that tragic event, when all hands can't save them, that there might be a silver lining for them, for their family afterwards, to say, wow, in their loss, something good came of it, because this is just pure tragedy. But that bugged me for a long time, that I want a transplant, but I don't want anybody to die. But being in the business, we know people, there's that they would have recognized the importance of being an organ donor.
Sorry, folks. We've lost them for a minute. I'm sure they will come back. I don't know if it's my internet or theirs, but we'll get them back. So if you're just tuning in, we are in the second hour of A Second Chance, a 12-hour fundraiser, which goes tonight to 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Pacific time. And we're talking to people that have had transplants or life-threatening illnesses. And like, if you were there with our first hour with Mary talking about her breast cancer journey, or if you're here with Brian and his amazing wife, Kim, just really, what does that mean when somebody has an illness, And like Brian has said several times, filling out that donor card is critical and key to help saving a life. And I know there's every time I get my organ donor card, I definitely have that. Oh, we got Brian back. There we go.
Hey,
so glad you're back. So yeah, I was just saying, filling out that here in Canada, when we get our driver's license, we have an opportunity to fill it out and say, hey, do we want to be an organ donor or not? And I have filled that out several times. To say, why not? I don't need my organs. What do I need my organs for, right? Once I'm gone, what are they going to do? And my aunt actually donated her body to science. So here in Canada, once they do that, like, you don't get the body back. So once it's donated, they harvest it, do what they got to do. And then maybe a year later, you might get the remains back, whatever's left. But not knowing what's happening through that transition, I guess, can be scary for the family. But just remember, you're saving a life on the other side. And Brian's one of those people that are here saying, wait a minute, without you signing off on that donor card, I don't know what it's like in the States, but here, you give life to another human being. So
yeah. And then, and that's our second chance. Now we get this chance through organ donation, tissue. That even in the tissue, when a firefighter gets burned, they usually get donor tissue that helps us heal from our burns. So, and then we take our second chance and we go forward with it, and here we are coming up on 23 years later, still trying to give back to the community, taking care of our family and being good stewards of this gift that we've had, and living the life that we were meant to live, with this experience that we can speak out to and say, if anybody ever has these issues come up, that drugs will play into it, the scared will come into it, the communication has to be there. And honestly, Dorothy, that's kind of where Kim and I are now in our lives. We've spoken all over the United States on this topic, and we really like it now when we talk about the caregiver side and the recipient side, the sick person side, that, hey, you're kind of being a jerk today and you need somebody to call. And I've got a couple friends that when they were waiting for their transplant, I'd tell them, hey, when you're being a jerk, call me and give everything you wanted to give to your wife, because she's the closest one. Give it to me and leave the bride alone. So those messages out there, until you've lived it, you really don't understand it. And it doesn't just go for organ transplantation, like you were alluding to your parents with the heart. They're scared, they're sick, their body's not working right. They're not what they hoped they would be at that age. Yeah. And you're like, wow. And so it just puts a lot of stuff in our head that, we really need a support group. And whether it's a spouse, the family, the friends, we need each other to get through these things.
Well, I think it's great. Like, when you just talking about support group, I think it's great to have like a group for both combined, but I think it's also be good to have it separate, because, like Kim said, like, she doesn't want to hurt you and some of the things that had happened. So having that support where she can talk unbridled, I guess, is the word. And you can too, because you don't, like you said, you're going through your own hell. Like, am I going to live? How am I going to take care of my family? I have 2 boys before, and now I have this amazing daughter. Like, how am I going to take care of them? And all the things that a man goes through, and thinking, shit, if I die, how's my family going to,
that's right,
how am I going to leave my family? Right. Being sick for a year, not being able to do anything, losing all that weight and not being able to get out of bed is definitely not something a man takes lightly, right? Because he wants to provide for his family. And then you guys have to go through that as well. And having a strong woman by your side, yeah, it's great. But then also identifying, saying, wait a minute, she's got to be strong for you, and you got to be strong for her. Right. And just having those moments, I can see both sides. Yeah. And I love that you said, like, having those support groups for both, and also coming together so that you can bring everything together. I guess it's what I'm thinking about is a therapy session. You like couples therapy. You each go, and then you come together. So.
But no, you're exactly right. I think they should be definitely independent of each other at some point, where they can talk unabridged and say what they're feeling without hurting the other person. And then you come together and say, what did we learn? Not to beat the other one down and say, wow, exactly, you were this and this. But in your therapy session, you got to get it out amongst the other ones that lived through the same hell. But then we come together and say, you know what? We both learned from this. We don't act like that anymore. And then me talking to other recipients. Yeah, we were nasty, male or female. We were nasty. And we can't ever do that if we get sick again or whatever. We got to remember that threshold, and we can't cross it. So no, you're exactly right. But I think it should be independent of each other at some point, so that it can come out. Otherwise, you're never going to feel cleansed that I never got to confess this.
Right. Well, and I think I like the reason why I started my show originally was because I wanted to give people a platform to be able, a safe space where you can say and whatever you need to say, because there's somebody out there that needs to hear it. You know, in moments in life, you know, with you in having, you know, not knowing if you're going to live or die, having those moments of that it is alone, myself going through moments of like, you know, when I was bullied and had low self-esteem, those moments are low. So when you have being able to share that with other people, saying, hey, wait a minute, you know, you're not alone in this. I've gone through it too. And being able to share openly and honestly about it. Like it's not, you know, those moments, you know, going off the rails at your spouse because something happened or something like that. By being honest and authentic about that, you're saying, wait a minute, maybe that's why my spouse is the way they are right now. And identifying and having empathy for them, not knocking their ass down every single time, you know, and like you said, you know, kudos for Kim for once she figured out what was wrong with you for sticking around.
It's huge, right? It's huge that to stick around. I still look back and think, I don't know if and I say this in jest, I don't know if I would have stuck with you all that crap, you know, but of course I would have. But to stick around and to think anything would ever come between us now, we look at other people and think you can't drive a wedge between us because we've been through the worst. I don't know that it can get much worse. So, and it made us closer, if that makes any sense. That
I was just going to say, you probably have a better, stronger marriage for it because, you know, before my husband and I got married, we've been together for 6 years, married for 3 years. The first 2.5 years of our relationship, I'm like, shit, if we can get through this, we can get through anything. Like marriage should be a cakewalk. I'm not saying marriage has been a cakewalk, but I'm just like, you learn to be there for each other. And sometimes, you know, because they're your spouse or you, before you guys even got married, having that connection with each other and just saying, okay, wait a minute, like you don't, having that togetherness is absolutely amazing. And like you said, what doesn't kill you, my uncle had this saying, what doesn't kill you make you stronger. I truly 100% believe that. And like you said, there's nothing that's going to get through your marriage. Like it's, you guys are rock solid. And we, you know, we go through those things in life to have those. I think God puts us just to see how strong we are and to help other people through it.
Yeah. And you know, Kim, long before I came along, her whole life, she had faith and she had been to church and really had the faith. And I believed in God and I'd gone to church periodically, but not till I met her and went through this did I realize, oh, here's what it's about. And that's where I really, and Kim told me one time, I said, you know, God sure put me through a lot of stuff right now. And she says, well, because you're so damn stubborn that he needs to drive it through to you. Otherwise, you're not going to get it. And I honestly believe that. I honestly believe that.
We were driving to Kaiser to get that fluid taken off his belly. And I was driving and he blurted out. He said, there's somebody on the corner that was smoking. And he goes, they'll probably live this long, healthy life, never get lung cancer. And he goes, and I'm stuck here with this liver transplant. And why me? That I'm so sick. And I looked at him. I was stopped at the light and I go, why not you? I yelled it at him. And he goes, oh, I said, maybe you have some lessons to learn. I said, so why not you? So I'll never forget that day. That was the last time I said it because I think it went through.
That's the last time I ever said, why me?
And, you know, Brian, I can identify with you because we go through these lessons in life because we need them, number one, and to get through our thick skulls, because I've been known to be stubborn myself.
Right.
So I get you, brother. I get you. I don't need a liver transplant to get me through there. I get it. I know where I come from.
Yeah. And I guess I needed it. But that was the only time I said, why me? And I thought, you're right. Why not me? And at the end of this journey, who knows what it holds? And Dorothy, honestly, our life after transplant has been truly remarkable. It truly, we have met some of those wonderful people. Philip Jones for goodness sakes, we would have never met. We have seen and done and heard stories that we would have never had the opportunity had we not had the transplant. Now, I never want to go through another one again. We've seen a lot and enough.
Yeah.
But our journey after transplant, maybe that was part of it, that who we were going to meet, who we were going to get to help, who we would learn from, because we're still learning every day. But it's remarkable. And what we've met are some truly resilient people after they've gone through a double lung transplant, a kidney transplant, being on dialysis, a heart transplant, like your parents all of a sudden waking up going, wow, I feel great. So you get to be around these amazing people that have a true passion, like we do, like Philip Jones does, that, wow, things weren't good at one point, and I got this second chance, and I'm not blowing it. I'm not letting time fly. And if I didn't have to sleep, I wouldn't. I want to be awake 24/7 and just go.
Well, I want to add on to this. So after they filmed this we didn't know it was going to be a documentary. They called and said, we're premiering it. And it was right after 9/11 had happened. And they said we're premiering in Washington, D.C., congressional premiere. So we are invited. The three of us go. Megan's with us. She's 5 years old. And we get on the plane. We're seatbelting in. And he looks at me and he says, do you think this is why I got a liver transplant? Because they asked him to speak to Congress. There was going to be 450 congressmen in this building, black tie event. And he said, do you think this is why I got sick? And I said, Brian, oh my God, yes, you are going to reach people in this country. I think this is going to be big. After that, we've been all over the United States because of this film.
Right.
Speaking about that.
Wow. Wow, I'm really honored to have you on my stage. I mean, I was honored before, but even
Don't keep us on too long because you'll get disappointed.
Yeah, we're about done.
No, I love listening to people's stories. I really do. To me, that's what it's all about. And for those of us that have gone through a lot, I think we have more empathy and can relate to more people.
100%.
And that's why I wrote my book. That's why I started the show. That's why, because people really, we need to be there for each other. And by you guys sharing your story, it's like, wait, these are everyday people, just going through something extraordinary, so that God could use them to make sure that other people know that they're not going through their stuff alone.
You're not alone.
And
you're never alone.
I just love that.
And you can't, and I tell people that are waiting, you can't be alone tonight when you're in the hospital, because I'm thinking about you. So you're not alone. And Kim tells that to the spouses and even to the patients, that you can't ever be alone, because we're always thinking of you. We're praying for you. We're holding your hands, even though we're not next to you. So you're never alone in this. And one of the things we learned, and it just warms my heart so much, I used to lay in bed, does anybody know or care that I'm here? Well, now that I've had my transplant, we traveled around the country so frequently that there's so many people working behind the scenes. So many people doing a podcast like what you're doing to let people know, not just about organ donation, but people care about you, even if they're not calling or texting you this very second. You're in their hearts. And you doing something like this marathon of telethons, you're doing so much that people like us care, Dorothy. And we're all over the world. And if you're a friend of ours, a friend of yours, and we hear about you, you're in our thoughts, and you're not alone. We're a phone call away.
I absolutely love that. You guys, you're going to have to come to Canada when you come to Canada.
Invite us. We'll come.
Come on down. It's cold as hell here, but come on down.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Canada.
Yeah.
You got your passport?
We do. I don't. We're not vaccinated though.
Actually, now they changed it. You don't have to be anymore to cross now.
Okay. Yeah.
You smartened up.
one quick thing. I don't know how much time we have left, but yeah,
we've got 5 minutes.
Not being vaccinated. So I've taken a little bit of crap for this. Hey, you've had a liver transplant. Don't you care? And boy, there's something that might get you a fist in your face, And I mean that figurative, not literally. But I care? Don't I care? I care a ton. And boy, I've taken a little bit of a beating, but I've got thick skin too. I do care. I care about myself. I care about my wife and my daughter, the people around me. But honest, and as I knock on wood right now, I'm not vaccinated and I haven't been sick. I don't know why, but I'm doing okay. And so when I say, you got to go to Canada and get a vaccine, I didn't know or not. But yeah, here we took a little bit of a beating during COVID, and we all weathered it just fine. And I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any means. If you want it, you need it, and it's for you, it is. But you know what? I've got a liver. It filters everything that comes in and out of your body. And doggone it, I'm very cautious of what goes in my body.
Yeah.
And I limit it to the minimalist because I don't know. I don't ever want to do something and go, oh, that's what caused it to fail again. I've been through 2 failure episodes, like Kim says. I don't know what caused them. I don't want to go there again. I'm doing fine here. And yeah, so we don't have the vaccine and we're doing okay.
I love that. Can I just say I love that? And I waited to the very end to get mine. And due to my dad's death, here in Canada, we were not allowed to go into the hospitals unless you were vaccinated. So my mom, being a fresh widow who is chronically sick, I'm like, I can't have somebody who just died, like her best friend just died, and then be alone in a hospital. So yeah, I ended up, in my opinion, forced to do it. Right. I will not get boosted no matter what they say. And thank God I have a holistic doctor that said, do this and this and this, prep yourself, push it out, do some energy work, push it out. I didn't know. Yes, I've prepped my body beforehand, and I was probably one of the last ones to get it that was here in Canada. But yeah, no, I get it. And I'm not an anti-vax either. However, I never had a flu shot, nor will I ever. And so, I took a lot of heat from my family from not getting it. And so I get you. I respect your decision. You. And, I trust me, if I didn't have to, I wouldn't have got it. Yeah. But no, they don't know what's in that. Like you said, that could have totally put your body into a reject mode. And why would you do that?
Why would I do that? And one of the things that gave me confidence not to get the vaccine was after my transplant, I went back to work. They're like, hey, you should get all the vaccines and flu and all this. Dorothy, my whole 17 years after transplant, I never got a flu shot. We're around flu people every year. And I never got the flu. And I thought, I don't know if there's something different about me, if my body has built up a secondary immune system. I don't know that. Like I say, I'm high school educated. I'm a paramedic, and I can figure things out, I think. But not getting a flu in 17 years being a field paramedic, maybe I don't need the vaccine either.
Well, I know I take care of my body. I know I use vitamins. I know I do the one things I'm supposed to do. And I, knock on wood, have not been sick. But somebody in my family who gets the flu shot yearly is sick every year and has pneumonia every January.
So we see these things out there, and our perception or what we believe in say, wow, I don't think I need to go there. And we don't. And we're still here. And, thank God our faith, I think, has a lot to play with it. What we put in our body and our enzymes, our diet, our medicines, our vitamins. Yeah. We're still doing okay.
We are fantabulous.
We are.
I love it.
And being here with you, didn't know you 20 minutes ago or an hour ago, and other than our brief phone call the other day. And this is really fantastic what you're doing. I got to send kudos out to you. I love it. And I love this moment. There's a little bit of time we got to spend with you and share, and hope people can take something away from what we've talked about today, honestly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dawn's just joining us here. She goes, awesome show, love. Y'all. She's from Oklahoma. Y'all. I love that.
We get in the South.
Y'all. So that's funny because sometimes my grandmother is a Yankee. So great grandmother was a Yankee. So I sometimes talk with the accent just to throw people off because they really don't know where I'm from. Yeah. So anyways, yes, I am Canadian, but I have people that aren't. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Philip and his crew at A Second Chance and doing this 12-hour fundraiser, not only to raise funds, but bring awareness for transplant community and other life-threatening illnesses. So stay tuned. If you can donate, please go to www.asecondchance.net/donate to donate. And thank you. If you have it in your heart to definitely fill out that donor card when you get your driver's license, because here we have living proof. Brian is living proof that it does work, and that he took his second chance and is using it, and to bless others, traveling the world, sharing his story. So any last words, Brian and Kim, before we wrap this up?
You know what? And hopefully we don't have to go through an event like we do to realize we have a second chance. It could be a turn in your life that went south for a second. We all have a second chance. Recognize it and take the opportunity of today to make it the best day. We have a second chance every day to do what we did wrong yesterday and do it today. So here we got a second chance, literally and figuratively, because death was on the doorstep. But live life, give life, enjoy your life. Because we have a second chance every day to do better today what we did yesterday.
Because you woke up.
You woke up.
On this side of the dirt.
That's what I'm talking about.
It was nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you too. And for those of you that are joining us, the third hour, go over to Russ John's. And his guest is Loretta Gray Davis. So go check them out. And thank you so much for joining us today. Be blessed in all that you do and unstoppable.
God
Bye
bless you,
for now.
Thank you so much.
Bye.